skip over the next thing, just so you know, Jen. But I say to you, listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other one. Also, and from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold your shirt. Give to anyone who begs from you. If anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Now, I am so not going to lie to you. What Jesus is asking us to do will be the most difficult thing you're ever going to be asked to do. So let's start by asking ourselves, who are our enemies? That's a pretty strong word. However, we all have them. Maybe not the kind we hear about in war, the one who wants to overthrow you or kill you, but we all have enemies. The word enemy can be described in many ways. Something harmful, something deadly. Therefore, drugs or alcohol can be your enemy. An enemy can be someone who is opposite to you or opposed to you, unfriendly to you. And every day I hear someone tell me they don't like someone, they disagree with someone. And sometimes I even hear a hateful tone when someone is speaking of someone else. Yeah, we all have enemies. And we all have people we disagree with. We all have people in our lives who hurt us. And we're not really ready to forgive them. So these are our enemies. And I'll say it again, I believe that COVID has divided the world more than any other issue in recent history. And I believe that social media has furthered this issue. Just a few days ago, I had a friend post on Facebook her support for the trucker convoy. She believes our government has stripped us of all our freedom by making us wear masks, by encouraging us to be vaccinated, by keeping our kids home from schools. She believes this so strongly, she's actually willing to fight and hate people who disagree with her. So every hour on this Facebook post, another person posts for or against it. And every hour, the list of enemies grows. Words of hate are thrown around like bullets on a battlefield. And all I want to write is we can disagree with each other and not hate each other. We can disagree with each other and still love each other. But I say nothing. I say nothing. Not because I don't believe I should. I'm not really sure if the world's ready to hear what I have to say. Maybe this is completely wrong that I say nothing. Perhaps if I remain quiet, I'm actually part of the problem. I'm just so sick and tired of COVID and the division. And I feel like I cannot bridge this division alone. So I'll speak today about what it means to love your enemies. And perhaps we can take this message out to the world, and together we can make a difference, because I cannot do it by myself. So what is Jesus actually saying when he says love our enemies? Jesus is asking us to do good to those who you can't bear. Do good to those who disagree with us. This means repairing your relationship with someone who hurts you. And this is an act of forgiveness. But it also means that someone hates you because of what you've done to them, or what you believe, or how you look. Jesus is asking us to not hate them back. You don't have to be friends with these people, but you also don't need to spread more hate. You don't have to have them over for dinner, but don't burn their house down. Just forgive them for their ignorance. Jesus is asking us to bless those who torment you, pray for those who abuse you. Now, this seems like an almost impossible task. How can you forgive someone who has abused you? Not only forgive them, but bless them. Why would you pray for someone who has abused you? And they ask you, why would you not? Hate spreads hate. Jesus is not asking us to go back for more. Please don't. If someone's abusing you, please run the other way, ask for help. But pray for them. Pray that they will change. Pray that they will see the unconditional love of God. Pray that they will not harm anyone else. And pray that they will seek God's counsel. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, also offer the other one. Does this mean we don't fight back? What Jesus is saying is he does not want us to retaliate in anger, nor shrink to some falsehood of humility. He wants us to stand up and demand respect. This passage is about nonviolence. Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi used this passage to show there's a path forward without violence. And when you turn the other cheek, instead of engaging, you create a better world without violence. Anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. If someone steals from you, offer them more. Again, this seems like a crazy, radical idea. I was once at the farmer's market when Kaya was little, and I bought produce and other groceries. I was shoving it into the bottom of the stroller, and when I got home to unpack, I realized that half of them were missing. And at first I was furious. I thought, did they fall out? But there was actually no way to fall out. So I knew someone had taken them. So I said, well, whoever took them really need those groceries. And this is certainly not an easy thing to say, especially when someone steals something of great value to you. To be really honest with you at this point, as I'm reading this sermon, as I'm writing this sermon, I am really questioning these words of Jesus, and I can't with good consciousness ask you to be this good of a person. I'm not sure if what Jesus is asking can consistently, literally, legalistically, or universally be carried out. I think chaos would result. But Jesus must be saying something. He's not just spouting gibberish and nonsense. He's not just saying shocking statements for shock value. He's not saying we should stand on the street corner and let someone rob us. I think he is saying when it comes to disagreements and arguments, someone is going to have to absorb a blow. Sure, you can go to the court of law and sit through a trial and allow some judge to decide who will absorb the blow, which one of you will. But Jesus is asking us to save our time and the headaches and absorb the blow yourself. If there really is a disagreement and it's hard to determine who is right or wrong, be the bigger person, be the peacemaker, and give them what they want. Give them more than they want. If Jesus were preaching on the Sermon on the Mount today, he might say, if your enemy asks you to bake a wedding cake, bake them two at no charge. Or maybe if your enemy is asking for a marriage license, give it to them and offer to do the ceremony as well. So Jesus is not teaching us that we should allow ourselves to be taken advantage of. He's not telling us to be doormats or allow people to steal our houses and cars and bank accounts. Let me give you an extreme example. Should someone passively walk to a thief plunders his house and carries away his children? Is God asking us to stand idly by and say, God bless you, brother, here's a blank check for you to enter my bank accounts. And by the way, please read this gospel tract. No, never. The Bible is very clear. We must stand up to evil. If we are victims of criminal activity, it is ungodly to tolerate the attack. The difference is one of restraint or retaliation. Restraint opposes the evil being done while still hoping for a positive outcome from the enemy, and retaliation is intended to hurt someone. So what this passage is actually saying is God wants us to do everything within our power to restrain evil, but it's not our responsibility to retaliate. Give to anyone who begs from you. What I think Jesus is asking here is very humanitarian. It comes down to charity. If someone asks you for money, give it to them. If somebody asks you for food, give it to them. I know it's difficult to remember that homeless people or beggars are people too. They are too worthy of God's love. It's easy to judge them and say, well, they should just work for their money. Last week, during children's time, I gave an example of someone who's hungry, and we give them an apple. And the next day, we give them another apple, and another apple. And this is charity. But what if we gave them the means to plant the apple seeds and grow their own orchard? Then they'd be able to feed themselves and others. But we all don't have the means to plant an orchard. Therefore, it's our responsibility of those who own the orchard to give the apples to the poor. And last, but certainly not least, Jesus is asking us to do to others as you would have them to do to you. I love how this language is so tricky sometimes. Basically, Jesus is asking us to treat others as we want to be treated. Often called the golden rule and found in almost every New Testament book. And what I'd like to say is, if you've heard nothing of value so far, listen up. If we all lived our lives by treating others like you want to be treated, there'd be no need for the other things Jesus is asking from us. There'd be no need to ask us to love our enemies or turn the other cheek, etc., etc. We would not engage in fighting on Facebook. We'd simply say, I respect that person's opinion. I don't agree with it, but I respect it. We wouldn't have to pray for an abuser because there'd be no abuser. The fact is, though, that no one in this room, no one in this country, and no one in this world always treats others like we want to be treated. And I'm certainly not happy with Jesus at this point in time. I think there's a lot of pressure to put on us, all these demands. It's almost as if Jesus is asking us to be perfect. I think Jesus is asking us. What he's asking us is impossible. Or is he? He's assuming we have enemies. He's assuming people steal from us. He's assuming we won't give to the beggar. He knows we are imperfect. And he didn't purposely run from the Roman soldiers for a reason. He knew he had to die to reconcile the relationship between man and God. He saw our imperfections, and he gave us a set of guidelines to follow. He never asked us to be perfect. He simply asked us to try. So this does not mean you should ignore these commandments or break them. In order for us to truly follow these words of Jesus, we need to be in a loving, supportive community. We need a healthy spiritual life, and we need to be willing to be humble, because we cannot do this on our own. I cannot do this on my own. We need each other to make this world a better place. We need God. So don't go out and love your enemies without help. You will only fail. But if we do it together, we can walk a path of righteousness worthy of Jesus. Amen. Please rise as you're able.